Hey everybody, this is TJR. This arrived in my mailbox the other day. This, of course, is the 50th anniversary re-release of After the Gold Rush by Neil Young. But before we dive too deeply into this, I want to ask you, please click like, click subscribe, smash that bell notification icon so you can know when I release new videos. Okay, let's get into it. Now, I did a video about the details regarding the re-release a while back, and I mentioned, of course, that I would not be picking up the vinyl box set because the vinyl box set was a ripoff. It was just the record, a 7-inch single with 2 tracks and a print in a box for $100, way overpriced. This CD version is a little bit more reasonable. It's about $13. Now, I would normally not complain about that too much, but I think even this is a little bit overpriced for what it is. And I knew this going into it. So this is not a sign of disappointment, but I still want to pick this up anyways, just so that I could talk about it and share my thoughts on it with you and listen to the remaster, of course, too. So let me explain why I still think this is overpriced, even this CD version. Basically, this contains 2 bonus tracks. You get 2 versions of the song Wanderin'. Did I say that right? Wonderin'. That's better. I think I pronounced it Wanderin'. It's Wonderin'. Now, Wonderin' is a song that is best known from Neil Young's 1983 album, Everybody's Rockin', an album that I feel is greatly underappreciated and that I should probably talk about at greater length at some point. But in this CD, you get the original and alternate versions of the song that Neil Young recorded during the After the Gold Rush sessions, which is why it's included on this here. Now, one thing I will mention while I'm talking about the track listing, I noticed that after the last song, Cripple Creek Ferry, which was the last song on the original release, there is this track that is just called Break. It's 30 seconds of silence. Now, I actually do appreciate that he did this, and I wish more artists would. He's putting this bit of separation between the original album, its original track order, and then these bonus tracks, because they're not part of the album. And he wants you to have that experience of this is where the album ends. Now, I know, of course, yeah, you could hit pause on your player, but I just appreciate that because I think there is something special about how the album was originally laid out to be played when it was originally released. And if you're going to put some bonus tracks on the end, to me, that disrupts a little bit. I know, I'm kind of walking a fine line here, but to me, it disrupts a little bit the artist's intent. So by putting that little break there, I think it keeps the intent clear. This is where the album ends, especially if maybe you're new to the album and a deluxe version with like extra bonus tracks is your first time listening to the album. So I think that's important. I really actually kind of appreciate it, even though it's such a tiny little thing. But at any rate, though, my main point on this is that usually if you expect your fans to rebuy an album, even on the CD and pay full price again, you've got to give them enough extra to make it worth their while. You should. And so usually that comes in the form of additional bonus tracks. Sometimes they can fit on the same CD as the album. Maybe it's about 5 or 6 bonus tracks, who knows? Sometimes there's enough that it warrants a separate CD. That's fine too, so long as you don't overcharge for that, so long as you don't overcharge for 2 CDs, because once again, you're asking your audience to rebuy your album a second time. Other times this comes in expanded packaging as well. I've seen great ways that artists have had their catalogs re-released in anniversary editions, expanded editions, where it's worth it. It's worth the money. It's worth it buying it again. But with just 2 bonus tracks, I'm not really sure it's worth it for in that respect. But I guess we should talk about the remaster too. We should lead into that. Before I do, real quick, I'm just going to take a quick look here at the packaging. Now, this comes in a mini vinyl gatefold here. Here's the interior. This is how the original album would have looked had you bought it in vinyl back in the day, in the 70s. They replicate, of course, the original Reprise Records label from the time. By the way, this little sleeve for the CD, this did not come with it. I added that. Whenever I buy CDs in these types of packaging, which I love, by the way. I'm not complaining, but CDs have a habit of falling out sometimes when you take the package off the shelf. So these help protect it. So I just add that myself. It also comes with a replica of the original fold-out poster, which was a lyric sheet, actually. It included, reproductions of Neil Young's handwritten lyrics, but it was done as a fold-out poster. The credits were just placed here on this bottom end here of the poster, and that was it, really. But it replicates that too as well. Now, I want to take a moment and just make a comparison here. I'm going to talk about the remaster versus my original copy in a moment here. But first, I want to actually kind of show you my original copy here. Now, I got this sometime during the 80s. Don't ask me when. It's been a long time. But I picked this up during the 80s. I don't think I ever got to own this album on vinyl. But anyway, so this was my initial CD when I bought it brand new. This is one of those that was manufactured by BMG Music Club, if you remember those. And this was one of them. Right there, you can see the little sticker there that talks about that. But I have to admit, for its time, I thought they did a pretty good job with this physical release. You got a booklet here. A lot of times, CD releases at that time, they did a really poor job of replicating the packaging you got with the original vinyl. A lot of times, they might just put an insert of the cover, and that's it, just a single page insert. That's it, nothing else. But here, they did their best to replicate. There's the back cover. That's Neil's butt, I guess. Anyways, there's a certain amount of absurdity to that. But here they actually replicated the handwritten lyric reproductions here, like the poster had, just in booklet form. And the gatefold was included too, just inside the booklet, of course. So yeah, they did a good job, I thought, of giving you, physically, packaging-wise, what you got when you picked it up on vinyl, which was, I think, rare at the time. Now, later, that would become a thing where you would, include all the original album packaging so that you didn't lose that part of the experience. You just had it in the miniature booklet form. So at any rate, though, I guess the next thing we should talk about is the audio quality, the remaster. How is it? Well, give me a moment. I'm pulling up some examples here for you to look at. I listened to the album, of course, on headphones. I listened to it on the home stereo and A-B'd back and forth between the original and the 50th anniversary re-release. And after doing some careful comparison, I would say that maybe the difference is minimal at best. Now, the remaster is louder. It's punchier. And now let me show you a few things here. I'm going to pull up here. This is Only Love Can Break Your Heart. This is taken off of my original CD copy, the one I just finished showing you here. Here's the original WAV file here in Audacity. You can take a look at that here. Now, let me compare it to the 50th anniversary one. And so here you can see it. They've pumped it up quite a bit here, as you can see. Now, it's not what I would call brick walling. There's still dynamic range that you can definitely see here. So they haven't brick walled it, which is good. But I found that after looking at this one and also looking at When You Dance, I Can Really Love. And once again, let me show you my original 80s version. Here's the song. And this is a much, more rockin' song. But now let me compare it here with the 50th anniversary. Here we go. Once again, you can see they've really pumped it up here. Now, what this is doing, in my opinion, is just making it a little louder. And that was the primary difference. It was a little bit louder. It punches out a little more. So for my audio comparison, I did the following. I did this on headphones, and I did this on my home stereo system. So as an example, sitting in my living room, I first played the 80s version of the album and chose a specific song, played it at what I felt was the optimal volume. Then I paused and I turned down the volume one notch. Then I played the 50th anniversary remaster. Now, What this did is it put their volumes at the same level. And you see, one thing that happens with remasters that I think is kind of a trick of the ear is they're always a little bit louder. So when you first compare them at the same volume, your first thought is, yeah, the remaster sounds better because it punches out at you. That doesn't necessarily mean you're getting any more clarity, because you could just bring the volume up of the original release and find out that it sounds exactly the same. It's just a little bit louder. That's it. There isn't any more clarity with the bass and the drums or anything like that. It's just a little bit louder. And this is what I discovered. This remaster is a little bit louder. And that's really about it. I kept listening so closely to hear differences. And like I said, if you just go back and forth at the same volume, you're going to think, oh, yeah, it sounds better because it's louder. But when you put them at the same level by just moving the volume down a notch, maybe two notches, depending on your system, on the anniversary re-release and hearing them now at the same volume level, I didn't hear that big a difference. If I heard anything, it was extremely minimal, and certainly not worth, in my opinion, the expense of rebuying it, unless, of course, you don't have the original or you want to get it in this packaging, mini vinyl gatefold packaging with the 2 bonus tracks and the poster reproduction. But I want to add that I don't regret buying this. I knew going in that I was only going to get, 2 bonus tracks. But I decided, I do want to make this comparison. I do want to share that with you, make this video. I will keep this version because while I don't hear any huge difference, except that it's a little bit louder, it wasn't brick walled. You could still hear the dynamics. It sounds good. But I think my old version, my 80s version, I think that version sounds equally as good. You just have to turn the volume up a notch. That's all. And it sounds the same. But I do like the packaging for this one. I do like getting the extra 2 bonus tracks. Yes, it should have come with more, in my opinion. If you're going to ask your fans to rebuy an album, it should come with more. But I will keep this. As far as my original version, I'll probably donate it or something like that, At any rate, though, so those are my thoughts on this anniversary re-release. I think it's a shame that this didn't get more, that it didn't get a bonus disc. But then again, I guess Neil Young's doing his Neil Young archives, and he wants to kind of keep that. That's where he's putting all that exclusive material. But for those of us who don't want to subscribe to it, what's wrong with giving us a disc, a little bit more than just 2 tracks, for those of us who are willing to purchase it a second time? At any rate, though, one of the more disappointing remaster, re-releases, anniversary releases, whatever you want to call it, one of the more disappointing ones, just because of the lack of bonus material, for that reason. But at least it doesn't sound awful. It does sound good, but then so does the original. But with all that said, I'm going to say I don't regret getting this. I do like the packaging better. I do like getting the extra bonus tracks. But I will say, as far as these type of anniversary, re-release, remasters go, this one is a bit of a disappointment, just because of the lack of bonus material as far as extra songs. And I realize a lot of this probably has to do with the fact that Neil Young has his Neil Young Archives website, and he's got subscribers there, and they get access to all that extra stuff, the live tracks, the demos, all that stuff. They get access to that there. But for those of us who are willing to repurchase the album and don't want to subscribe to that service, but we're willing to rebuy the album again, I think you could give the fans a little bit more than just 2 tracks. And I don't mind the fact that the remaster is really kind of non-existent. Aside from being a little bit louder, it's really non-existent. I mean, I guess maybe having it a little louder might be helpful in some cases. If you're listening to it in a noisy car, maybe that might be helpful. But yeah, at least it's not brick walled. At least the remaster isn't over compressed. You can still hear and feel the dynamic range. And I know Neil Young is into that, so I'm glad, like I said, that it wasn't completely brick walled. It's just been made a little bit punchier, and that's it. At any rate, though, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Do you disagree with my assessment of the remaster? leave a comment. Let me know why. Let's have a discussion, but be respectful. I want to close out this video by thanking my Patreon supporters who are helping me to make more videos. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, go to patreon.com/TJR the original. I also want to thank everybody else for just doing great things like clicking like. That does so much to help the channel. And I also want to thank people who share these videos on their social media. Everybody, take care. Bye-bye.